Chapter 40, An Impossible Mission. Hello everyone, I am the Chief Military Instructor of your practicals, John Kong. You should consider yourselves lucky because you are the first group of examinees that have come here since I've taken charge, the Chief Military Instructor, John Kong, said. The students were standing there with their backs straight. None of them dared to say a word. In the past, they'd only interacted with teachers. The knowledge the teachers could impart to everyone was abundant, but it was only theories and data. The battle mages had remnant auras from killing magical beasts. These students who had never seen this aspect of the world were not rash, despite the chief military instructor called John Kong seeming gentle. Don't worry, you are the first practical students that I will be responsible for. In order for you to smoothly pass the practicals that directly influence your high school examinations, I will give you all a special treatment. John Kong said with a loud voice. Not being able to pass the practical examination, or getting a low score, will influence the grades by a lot. It's possible that their fate would greatly change due to the assessment of the practicals this time. I understand that you are all the most outstanding young magicians of our Bo City, and I also believe you possess the required strength to pass the practical examination this time. Thus, the practicals this time will be extremely easy, John Kong said harmlessly. At this moment, Luo Yunbo and Pan Lijun couldn't help but crease their foreheads. Whenever he revealed this kind of smile, it wouldn't be a good thing. I just received a bounty, and the difficulty is of the lowest level. There are 100 magicians in total from the school, right? How about this? If any of the squads, or individuals amongst you 100 people, are able to complete this bounty, then you will pass the entire practical assessment and acquire grade A, John Kong said. Before John Kong could finish his sentence, an uproar occurred within the small stronghold. The ones most excited were naturally the 100 practical students. They had heard their senior brothers and sisters mention the matters regarding practicals. All they needed to do is to waste time at the station and not provoke the instructors, and they'll basically pass. If you performed well, you could get a B, and an A wouldn't be much of a problem. However, they'd never heard of something like clearing a bounty? Bounties, aren't these the special missions undertaken by the full-grown mage squads that are looking for a high reward? Within the plaza, even the hunters who had been at the station for a long time couldn't calm themselves. What kind of situation was this? Letting these students undertake the bounty missions? That was retarded. Even our full-fledged mage hunting squads are unable to succeed, and now these immature and inexperienced students are supposed to finish it? What if none of us are able to finish this mission? Xu Jiaoting, who was standing further to the front, asked. Then no one will pass, John Kong replied indifferently. All the students and teachers were unable to remain calm after hearing these words. Chief Military Instructor, you might as well fail us all. At this moment, Class Representative Zhouman stood up as she was at the end of her patience. Yeah, there's no difference between that and failing us right now. Zhang Jianguo, Shui Mesheng, Tang Yue, and Chen Weiliang, the teachers' expressions were also exceedingly concerned. What was with this situation? Didn't they already bribe them? So why is this John Kong not playing according to the rules? A bounty, was this really something the students were able to do? How is it inappropriate? Why don't you go and find your school director, Deng Kai? Either way, it won't be easy for you to receive high grades from me. Since Tianlan Magic High is the best public high school in Bo City, then you shouldn't have brought a group of wastes here for practicals. Besides, if all you're planning on doing is wasting your time here, then you might as well go back to school and read magic books. What's the freaking use of bribery? It'd be good if that didn't happen. That way, you wouldn't come to a station where danger lurks everywhere. John Kong's tone suddenly turned serious. Just now, he had a gentle appearance, but in a flash, he turned into a fiend. Brought a group of wastes for practicals? Those words struck the hearts of the students fiercely. Chief Military Instructor, the examination you used is a bit too much. From what I know, any random bounty would require a squadron that has been polishing their skills in the outside world for at least 3 to 5 years to successfully complete. Teacher Zhang Jianguo said, with a lack of confidence. You have 100 people. If you can't even finish a bounty mission, then the wastes you mediocre teachers have raised would leave me very disappointed. Are they even elite students? Chief Military Instructor John Kong replied with no trace of politeness. As Zhang Jianguo heard this, his face turned green and white. This instructor had something wrong with his head. Let's not even mention him issuing an impossible mission. he even slandered all of the teachers and students of Tien Lan Magic High. Naturally, for the squadron or person that successfully completes the bounty, I will personally gift a reward. This reward is a piece of defensive magic equipment, continued Zhongkong as he raised his voice. As soon the words, defensive magic equipment, were mentioned, the veteran hunters outside of the plaza suddenly got excited. Sheet, awarding some defensive magic equipment? Boss Zhongkong, don't do it. Why don't you give that opportunity to us? We promise we will be able to smoothly accomplish the mission. Yeah, we are just in need of a piece of defensive magic equipment. That life-saving thing should definitely be given to us. Allow us to have a fair competition with these students, Boss Zhongkong. We also want the magic equipment. In a flash, the small hunter squadrons outside of the plaza were suddenly shouting out all this. Magic equipment. Magical equipment was something that connected with your soul. With your thoughts, you were able to activate it, and it would quickly transform into its genuine form. It would then become gear that would assist you in battles. They were just like the boot magic equipment the second Baldi tried to sell. Only after you wore and activated it would the speed of your body substantially increase. If you really were to meet a foe that you couldn't fight against, then the boot magic equipment would be a life-saving item. Additionally, if their body were to have increased speed during combat, then it could substantially increase the magician's combat power. Defensive magic equipment. It was a special type of equipment that was able to directly morph into a shield or armor. At a crucial time, it could block the attack of a magical beast, and thus was also a form of lifeguarding equipment. Although the magic equipment's price wasn't as high as a stardust magic tool, to people like hunters who risked their life every day in the outside world, it was treated like divine equipment. What was more valuable than life? Sheet, that's some good stuff. From what I know, a common defensive magic tool would end up being priced at several thousand yuan. No wonder these hunters are going crazy. This kind of money-bustling thing unexpectedly became the reward of the practical for these immature and inexperienced students. The question is, can those students obtain it? You're right, the bounties are usually really difficult, and even the veteran magicians can occasionally be caught in life-threatening situations. Mo Fan was still a stranger towards magic equipment, but if you were to convert the magic equipments into currency, then he would understand perfectly. Even the most common magic equipment was worth a good 1,000 yuan. Sheet, this daddy has never seen that much money in his life before. Chapter 41 Wind Trail, Flying Cliff. 10 days later, beneath the exuberant forest, on a curvy mountain path, a squad of 20 students wearing the uniform of Tien Lan Magic High stood near a mountain cliff. No matter how much they complained and felt dissatisfied, they still trod upon the road of bounty. 10 days had passed in the blink of an eye. In these 10 days, they'd been advancing through obstacles, passing through large mountains and jungle. The bitterness they suffered was unbelievable. This freaking chief military instructor, I really want to curse him for sending us to such a sly place. Wang Sanpang gasped for breath as he sat his butt down, fanning himself with his cap. Yeah, freaking crap. Speaking of which, how have we not finished the 30 kilometers yet? Isn't this the 10th day? Zhang Shuha, with the giraffe neck, asked. The 30 kilometers is the distance if it was a straight line. We have had to climb hills, cross valleys, and take detours around mountains. This kind of road is more than 30 kilometers, Zhang Xiaohou explained. The squad Mo Fan was in had a total of 20 people. The practical mission needed to be completed by students, and thus no teachers were leading the squads, nor were any military instructors following. All they were given was a map to use. The hardship of the journey for the past few days caused everyone to look like primitives. Their faces were covered in filth and they were dripping with sweat. After crossing this river valley, we shouldn't be too far from the 100-grass valley that Chief Military Instructor mentioned, Class Representative Joman said as she held the map. Sheet, how are we supposed to pass this river valley? Flying? In any case, it is at least 10 meters wide. Wang Sanpang was the first to call out. At this moment, there was a cliff in front of them. The cliff on the opposite side of the mountain was right in front of them. However, the rapid and surging river below was fearsome. The roaring sounds of the water splashing against the rocks were very clear. What do? We can't just give up halfway there. How about we just go home? There are still other groups, it's possible that they could finish this. Zhang Shuha, the giraffe neck, said. You lack spirit. How can you place your hope on other people? Joman immediately reprimanded him. Then you tell us what to do. None of us are able to cross this cliff, Zhang Shuha complained. Oh right, Zhang Yinglu, aren't you a wind magician? Why don't you try jumping over? In this moment, Xu Jiaoting looked toward a girl with ponytails beside him. The girl called Zhang Yinglu's face immediately turned deathly pale as she shyly said, "And no, I won't jump. What if I fall? We have ropes. The two cliffs have trees. As long as one person is able to directly jump to the other cliff on this valley and tie the ropes on the trees on the opposite side, then all of us will be able to use the ropes to cross over," Zhouman said, her eyes shining. Zhang Yinglu, don't you want to get an A? You are jumping with a rope. Even if you aren't able to jump over, we are still able to pull you up. It's only bungee jumping, Xu Jiaoting continued. I don't want to. Zhang Yinglu was clearly a cowardly girl. Sheet, when we need you, a wind magician, you don't comply. What kind of magician are you? Another water elemental girl said. Let's not force someone to do something they don't want to, Zhouman said. As everyone was still confused as to what to do, Mo Fan glanced at Zhang Xiaohou to his side. Zhang Xiaohou wasn't a very outstanding student within the elite class. Everyone habitually placed their hopes on Zhang Yinglu, who had the highest score in the wind element. However, Zhang Yinglu was just a girl. How could she possibly do something that might risk her life? Monkey, do you dare? Mo Fan opened his mouth to ask. What is there to be afraid of? Zhang Xiaohou slapped his chest. Good. Zhang Xiaohou stood up and said to Zhouman, Xu Jiaoting, and Zhang Shuha, tie the rope around me, I'll do it. Zhang Shuha and Xu Jiaoting revealed doubtful expressions as they checked out the not particularly impressive Zhang Xiaohou. However, someone volunteering was still better than standing there worrying helplessly. Zhouman's movements were quite swift. She quickly tied one end of the rope around Zhang Xiaohu's waist. Make way, make way. Give Zhang Xiaohou room for running. The other people immediately gave Zhang Xiaohou thumbs up. There were numerous people standing by the cliff and trembling as the wind blew past. Who would have the courage to jump in this situation? Monkey, don't worry. If you aren't able to jump across, I will pull you up. Mo Fan tied the other end of the rope onto a tree trunk, and he also used both of his hands to firmly grab the rope. Zhang Xiaohou smiled at Mo Fan's straightforwardness. As Zhang Xiaohou took a deep breath, he slowly closed his eyes. No one knew whether he was connecting the star paths or emboldening himself. Suddenly, Zhang Xiaohou opened his eyes. His pupils emitted a green radiance. An indescribable gale began to swirl around Zhang Xiaohou. Under the intent control of Zhang Xiaohou, the gale turned into a wind trail leading toward the cliff from the hillside of the mountain. This trail was invisible. However, the dust it scattered around allowed people to clearly see the extraordinary wind passage. Wind trail, swift current. As Zhang Xiaohou yelled out, the star trail radiance around his body achieved an extremely bright level. Swoosh! A burst of wind sounded, and their clothes began to flutter. Zhang Xiaohu's body turned into an indistinct shadow as it quickly passed through the wind passage which he had created, swiftly following the current within the wind trail. Zhang Xiaohu's speed grew increasingly faster. The hill didn't pose any problem for Zhang Xiaohou. Jump, jump quickly. Xu Jiaoting, Zhouman, and Zhang Shuha, the three of them, were closely fixated on Zhang Xiaohou. That wind elemental girl, Zhang Yinglu, who was too scared to jump, opened her eyes even wider. Zhang Xiaohou arrived at the edge of the cliff and jumped with all his force using his right foot. He shattered a rock by the cliff as his body simultaneously began to leap. Oh! In the midair, Zhang Xiaohou welcomed the whistling gale from the top of the valley. The wind was so powerful that his face almost deformed. His body arced between the two cliffs as he approached the other side. At this moment, Mo Fan tightly grasped the rope. If Zhang Xiaohou didn't make it, then he would have to pull him, or else he might crash into the rugged stones beneath the cliff. The remaining 19 people raised their heads up as they looked at the leaping Zhang Xiaohou. All of them were worried. At last, Zhang Xiaohou began to roll. His foot heavily stomped onto the edge of the other cliff. His body continued rolling forwards. Boom! In the end, he still crashed into a large tree on the other side of the cliff as everyone on the opposite side stared blankly. Zhang Xiaohu's eyes were crossed as he immediately turned around to look at the students on the other side of the cliff with a simple and honest smile. His appearance at the time looked extremely funny. Although his appearance seemed funny, the students' impressions of Zhang Xiaohou were much better. 20 people, and among them, there were only about 4 wind magicians. The only one who dared to jump over was Zhang Xiaohou. In this kind of situation, so what if the other wind magicians' grades were better? Monkey, good job! Mo Fan was the first to yell out. Zhouman, Zhang Shuhao, Wang Sanpang, and others immediately gave Zhang Xiaohou a thumbs up. We're coming over. Xu Jiaoting was the first to climb the ropes. The remaining 19 people also successfully climbed over to the other side of the valley. This would be a success on the first test of practicals because they had arrived at their destination, 100 Grass Valley.